Bookaholics, it's Isabel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing my top favorites and least favorites romance novels. This year I've been into more romance novels. I've bought a lot more. I've read some, but I've bought way too many and I haven't read any of them. But the few that I have read, I'm going to be sharing with you my least favorites and my absolute favorites of all the romance novels I've read. So I'm so excited to do this because I've just been kind of obsessed with romances this year, and even though I didn't read as much as I wanted to for them, I still adored them so much. I'm going to be talking about 6 here. I'm going to start with my 3 least favorites, then I'm going to be telling you my 3 top favorites. So let's just get into the least favorites. The number 6. So this is my absolute least favorite of this whole batch. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars and I was upset because it was my favorite Half Nightstand by Christina Lauren. I've been getting into Christina Lauren a lot more this year, like so much more, and I was looking forward to this one. It sounded pretty cute, it sounded pretty modern because it follows a girl and a bunch of group of people who were gonna join this online dating app, and they were all trying to find a date to this event they were supposed to do for work. And it just sounded really adorable and really cute, and I wanted to give it a shot. So I did read the audiobook, so I'm not too sure if that's what ruined it for me. I don't think so, because it was mainly the storyline. So like the idea was kind of adorable and I thought it would be kind of cute, but when it was implemented, I didn't care for it. It was mostly because it just didn't seem believable. For one, the book opens with the bunch of group of friends coming together, and the first chapter follows the main character, Millie Morris, and it's just her all of a sudden realizing she's attracted to one of her best friends. And I'm like, how have you not figured this out already? Like, she was shocked that she was attracted to him, and like, what? If you were friends with him for so long, I get that sometimes your sexual attraction kind of changes. It didn't fit. It just didn't make sense that it was all of a sudden, oh, I'm actually attracted to this guy. And then they call it a half nightstand. They sleep together, and then it's kind of awkward, and then they all join this app and they're online dating. And Millie Morris, her first app, the friends kind of teased her about how she had her description, so she makes a whole new profile with a different name, and she ends up matching with the best friend that she slept with. It kind of goes off from there, but that beginning kind of just ruined it for me, and I just didn't believe that they were never attracted to each other before, and all of a sudden they are, and they have these different kind of meetings with each other throughout the novel. I just wasn't invested in their romance. I would have thought they would have been together already if they were best friends for so long. Like, how are they just all of a sudden attracted to each other? Like, both of them were all of a sudden just so surprised they were attracted to each other, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But I just wasn't all that invested in it. I didn't really care for the love interest, mostly because, like, how has it not happened already? Like, the first chapter, they slept together, and I'm like, why didn't you just get together then? That would have made so much more sense. Yeah, that was this one. 2 out of 5 stars. The next one, I'm kind of conflicted about which one is number 5 and which one is number 4, because they're both 3 out of 5 stars. Like, the next 3 are all 3 out of 5 stars, but like, some of them I enjoyed more. I just don't know which one I want to have it as, so I'm just gonna talk about this one, then I'll talk about the next one. Not necessarily that either is 5 and one is 4, or like one is more least favorite or anything. It's just they're kind of just meh. So the first one is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. So I first learned about this when I saw it at the bookstore and I read the back, and it sounded super adorable, and I was really, really excited about it. Like, this story follows 2 characters. So one of the characters, Tiffany Moore, she just broke up with her boyfriend. I can't remember if she broke up with him or if he broke up with her, but she needs to move out of the apartment. So she's kind of desperate, and she ends up accepting this flat share. So it's where one person sleeps at the house during the day because they're a shift worker, and then the other person is there in the evening. So they never really meet each other, but they leave little messages for each other, like there's meat in the fridge you can eat, or all these different kind of messages, and they end up like talking to each other, and that was so adorable, and I was enjoying it so much, and I loved it. It was after they met, it kind of got boring, and it kind of just fell flat. The beginning was adorable. I loved it. I loved their interactions, and I was really rooting for them, and then when they got together, I don't know, the whole story just kind of fell flat for me, and I was kind of sad about it, and it just ended up being a meh book for me, and it ended up being 3 out of 5 stars. So it was still enjoyable. I still am glad that I read it. Just wasn't as exciting and as cute as I thought it was going to be. So my fourth one that I'm going to talk to you about is Waiting for Tom Hanks by Kerry Winfrey. So this one I read from Scribd, I think. It was an audiobook. It was fun. It was a 3 out of 5 stars. Again, another kind of meh, but it was still pretty adorable. This one follows a girl who is kind of obsessed with the Tom Hanks movies, and she is convinced that if she waits, she'll find her own Tom Hanks, and she'll fall into the same kind of pattern of the rom-com kind of films that Tom Hanks is in, and she just never takes opportunities that doesn't feel like a Tom Hanks kind of feeling. In this novel, there is a movie being filmed in her town, and she ends up literally bumping into one of the actors in the movie, and he's like a really famous person. She is convinced that this is kind of like a Tom Hanks, but she's not too sure if he is like the one who she meets before she meets the Tom Hanks, or all this kind of stuff. So she's like really questioning about what she's doing, because it's not quite how she wanted it to go, and her life's not quite where she wants it to be, and all this kind of stuff. It was really fun to read, but it ended up being kind of just like a typical rom-com, which I do enjoy, but like it wasn't like a top one or anything. It was fun, and it was enjoyable. The next one, so this is part of my top 3 romance novels. First one I'm going to be talking about is The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abbi Waxman. Sorry. So this one, again, was also a 3 out of 5 stars, but it's mostly in my top because there was the family aspect in here that I really did enjoy. The romance was pretty cute, but it wasn't the main fixture in this book that made me like it. The main fixture in this book was the family aspect. So in this novel, Nina Hill learns that her father just passed away, and he left her something in his will. She is kind of thrown into this family that she never knew about, and she's thrown into this world that she isn't all that comfortable being around, because she is someone who is very introverted and just likes to have a plan for everything in her life. So this was definitely not something she planned for. So I really enjoyed that. The romance is kind of cute. She is a trivia person. She goes to like the trivia games at bars, and she has this rivalry with this one group there, and one of the person on that group likes her, and she starts to kind of develop feelings for him, and I think that was pretty cute. But the romance wasn't the biggest thing for me here, but it was still really enjoyable. So it ended up getting a 3 out of 5 stars for me, but it was still really fun. Also, the cover is so me, and I'm living for it. So my top 2 book. I read this kind of the close to the beginning of the year, and it was my absolute favorites, and I absolutely adored this book. And that book was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I'm so happy I at least have one of Christina Lauren's book in here, because I absolutely love them. They are such great authors, and they just make such great romance kind of novels, and I'm really glad I ended up picking this one up. So The Unhoneymooners follows 2 characters, Olive Torres and Ethan Thomas. So it follows those 2 characters. They have met before. She is a twin sister, and her twin sister is marrying Ethan's brother. They're not all that close. They kind of had this big falling out the first time they met. Didn't have a very great impression at the beginning, and they're at this wedding, and everything in the wedding goes wrong, and they somehow get to go on to their siblings' honeymoon. So they're going to Maui together, and they just do not like each other, and I'm living for it. It was such a fun novel to read. I enjoyed it so much. It does have that typical hate to love kind of trope, but honestly, that is one of my favorites. So like, I was living the whole time I was reading this book, and it was so much fun, and I just loved it so much. This one ended up being a 5 out of 5 stars. It was such a fun novel to read, and I really enjoyed it. So my number 1 romance book of this year was also one of my top favorites. of just 2019 overall, and that was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This novel follows the first son and the Prince of England. They do not like each other at all, and when they're in an altercation at this royal wedding, they are forced to become best friends for a PR stunt, and like, it's just the greatest thing ever. It goes from a hate to love kind of story, and again, that is just my favorite trope of all time. So like, I was just living reading this whole book. I actually read it twice this year. I read it first in physical form and then I read it as an audiobook. I just love this novel so much. And I'm just so happy it's my #1 favorite romance because it just deserves all the hype. And apparently it's being made into an Amazon film, so like, I need to watch that. I'm really hoping they do it justice because I need it to be done justice because I just love this novel so much. Those are my least favorites and top favorites of 2019 for romance books. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite romances were this year, or if you're not really a romance fan, just tell me what your favorite books were this year. Give this video a like and I'll see you guys next video. Bye!